Ever wondered what could finally make today's EV batteries look outdated overnight? Today, the world's biggest battery maker has revealed full details on its new sodium battery, and, honestly, the numbers are real, not hype. It is not a magical 90% cheaper rumor. It is a workable leap built from common materials. If the claims hold, this chemistry could challenge lithium iron phosphate, the workhorse inside millions of EVs. We'll break down the price, the life cycle, the range, the winter performance, and the clever hybrid plan that could speed adoption fast. Then we'll ask, who wins when costs collapse? The announcement. This is the announcement many EV fans have been waiting for. Contemporary Amperex Technology Comer Limited has finally shared full details of its new sodium-ion battery after weeks of shifting deadlines and loud online rumors. It is not a fairy tale that suddenly makes every battery 90% cheaper. It is something more important. It is a serious new option from the world's biggest battery maker, a company that supplies packs to brands like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and many others. The company calls the new sodium cell N-Extra, and the message is bold. Sodium is no longer just for niche storage racks, it is being pitched for real EV packs. That matters because lithium iron phosphate battery has been the go-to choice for affordable EVs thanks to low cost and solid safety. If sodium can match the practical range and beat it on price and life, the default choice for mass-market cars could change. Sodium matters because it changes the raw material story. Lithium supply chains can be tight, and many countries rely on imports. Sodium is abundant and widely available. The company says these cells are built from common materials like sodium, aluminium, and carbon, plus established industrial inputs. That does not automatically make a good battery. You still need usable range, strong cycle life, and stable performance in heat and cold. So, the real value of this reveal is that the company put numbers on all of it, not vague promises. The price math. Let's clear up the price first because, honestly, the internet loves to inflate every claim. The company says its N-Extra sodium-ion cells sit around $19 US per kilowatt-hour. At the cell level, today's lithium iron phosphate battery cells, the chemistry used by brands like BYD, Tesla, and MG Motor, often land around $55 to $60 per kilowatt-hour when bought at massive scale. So note, this is not a 90% plunge to near zero, but it is still dramatic. $19 is roughly 65% cheaper than the common LFP sale price. The company also says the cost could fall further, potentially toward $10 per kilowatt-hour in the next few years. They did not give a firm date. But a realistic window is 2 to 3 years if scaling goes smoothly, and if the company's internal target of around $10 per kilowatt-hour is reached, even the full pack cost could fall into a range that makes small EVs and entry-level models far easier to build profitably. That is the kind of shift that can pull EV sticker prices down, not by a few percent, but by thousands of dollars in some segments. There is a catch though, and it matters for real buyers. Cell price is not pack price. Add cooling, casing, wiring, sensors and electronics, and the pack cost rises. A $19 cell can translate to roughly $40 to $45 per kilowatt-hour at the pack level. Even at that level, it is still far cheaper than many packs sold today, and if the cell cost drops again, the pack cost drops with it. That is why people are paying attention. Batteries stop being the biggest cost in the whole vehicle. So, let's talk about the million-mile claim. Price gets clicks, sure, but lifespan really changes the rules. The company claims the N-Extra can deliver about 3.6 million miles, or just under 6 million kilometers, before capacity falls to 85% of its original value. And just to be clear, that's not when the battery fails. That's when it's still at 85%. When you compare that with the toughest LFP packs expected by the end of 2025, the company is actually talking about 3 to 6 times longer life. Let's put that into everyday terms. With a battery like this, you might actually wear out the body, suspension, and interior of your car 2 or 3 times before the battery pack becomes the weak link. For private owners, that means you get long ownership with way fewer worries about having to replace the battery. But for fleets, it's even bigger. Delivery vans, taxis, and ride-share cars burn through charge cycles really fast. A pack that shrugs off years of daily charging can cut downtime and spread the cost over way more miles. Then, there's the whole second life story. When the car finally reaches end of life, the battery could still be strong enough to move into home storage or even community power projects. If the pack still has value after the car is scrapped, the economics of EV ownership really change. Suddenly it starts to look less like a consumable part and more like an asset that can keep earning its keep. Now, let's talk about energy density catch-up. Historically, sodium has struggled with energy density. Just a couple of years ago, most sodium cells sat around 120 to 140 watt-hours per kilogram. That's fine for a stationary battery container, but honestly, it's pretty heavy for a car. The company says its new Naxtra cell reaches about 175 watt-hours per kilogram. On paper, that now overtakes BYYD's current Blade battery, which is often quoted around 160 to 165 watt-hours per kilogram. This actually matters because it pushes sodium out of the too heavy for EVs box. At 175 watt-hours per kilogram, you can build a battery pack that delivers real range without needing a massive vehicle or sacrificing cabin space. It also helps explain why the company is framing this as more than just a price story. Sure, a cheap battery is nice, but a cheap battery that forces you into low range is a tough sell. By moving energy density upward, sodium starts to compete in the mainstream part of the market. It just works. That's why people are talking about this as maybe the start of the end for LFP in its current dominant form, even if LFP doesn't disappear completely. Storage, hybrids, and the big picture really matter here. The company isn't aiming only at cars, they're also looking directly at solar storage, microgrids, and large renewable projects. If storage costs about half as much and lasts 3 times longer, the economics of clean power totally shift. Solar is already one of the cheapest sources of electricity. Add low-cost storage that degrades slowly, and it becomes way easier to cover nights, storms, and peak demand without having to rely on gas. That doesn't instantly erase every power plant, but it definitely moves the tipping point. The company also revealed a clever transition plan called Freoid, a hybrid pack that mixes sodium-ion and lithium-ion cells in one system. The logic here is pretty simple. Let sodium handle the low-cost, long-life portion of the pack, while lithium covers the high-energy density portion where some vehicles still need it. This hybrid approach also helps with manufacturing. The company says sodium cells can be produced on existing LFP production equipment with only minor adjustments. That means companies may not need to spend billions on brand new factory lines just to get started. That speed could actually be the secret weapon, because chemistry shifts usually die in the gap between lab success and factory reality. And this is exactly why the investor question gets sharp. If sodium can be made on similar lines from more abundant materials, at lower cost, and with longer life, why keep betting everything on LFP unless you really need that last bit of energy density? If you zoom out again, it becomes an energy-independent story. Cheaper domestic batteries reduce reliance on imported fuels and imported lithium, and that has some huge geopolitical weight. One last zoom-out point. Materials like sodium, aluminum, and carbon are available on every continent. That means more countries can build batteries at home instead of fighting over supply. In a world with tense trade politics, that's a pretty big deal. And look, it doesn't mean lithium disappears overnight. High-energy lithium packs will still be used where every kilometer really matters, but sodium could take a huge share of the everyday market, the part where cost, lifespan, and winter performance matter most. All of this really comes down to one simple idea: cheaper, safer batteries that last longer change everything. If sodium-ion really hits $19 per kilowatt-hour at the cell level and later pushes toward $10, EV prices and grid storage costs could drop a lot. A pack that survives millions of miles could live a second life in homes and microgrids, and if Freud-style hybrids let factories switch fast, the rollout could be rapid. So, what do you think? Does sodium replace lithium, or do they coexist? Thanks for watching, share your thoughts below, and I'll see you next time.